Hello, my name is Miss Mary Anne Stanley, and I'm here to read you a story about a little boy who discovers what poetry is. The story is called Daniel Finds a Poem. The story and the pictures are by Micha Archer. There's Daniel. Daniel finds a poem. Looks like he's also found a cricket. Wow, look at that beautiful park. Daniel knows all the rocks, trees, and animals in the park. There are a lot of animals, aren't there? On Monday morning, Daniel sees something new on the park gate. A sign reads, "Poetry in the Park, Sunday at 6 o'clock." What is poetry? Daniel asks. He looks up in surprise when he hears Spider say, "To me, poetry is when morning dew glistens." Look at it glisten. Ooh. On Tuesday, Daniel climbs the old oak tree and he sees Squirrel. Do you see Squirrel? Yeah. "Squirrel," he asks, "do you know what poetry is?" "Whoa, poetry is when crisp leaves crunch," Squirrel tells him. Crunch, crunch, crunch. On Wednesday, Daniel calls into Chipmunk's hole. "Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is?" He sees Chipmunk right down there. Chipmunk sees him too. "Poetry? Says Chipmunk. "Poetry is a home with many windows in an old stone wall." Just like his. On Thursday, Daniel makes a boat with a leaf for a sail and watches the wind carry it across the pond. He calls quietly to Frog. "Excuse me, Frog, what is poetry?" "Really, poetry," says Frog, "is a cool pond to dive in." On Friday, Daniel parts the cattails and finds Turtle. "Oh, hello, Turtle," says Daniel. "I have a question. Do you know what poetry is?" "I think poetry is sun-warmed sand," says Turtle. On Saturday afternoon, Daniel finds Cricket in the shade of the slide. There's Cricket. How little. What do you suppose Daniel will ask him? When the shadows are long, Cricket fills the air with music. "Is this poetry to you, Cricket?" asks Daniel. "Singing at twilight when the day is done? Indeed it is, Daniel," says Cricket. That night, moonlight fills Daniel's room. He hears a whoo. Who do you think is saying that? Leaning from his window, he calls to Owl, Owl, what is poetry? Oh, poetry. Poetry is bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Good night, dear Daniel, she whispers, and flies off into the night. On Sunday, the sun wakes up Daniel. He is happy when he remembers it's Sunday. Today is poetry in the park, says Daniel, and I have a poem. There's Daniel in the park, and there are all his friends listening. And here is Daniel's poem. Morning dew glistens, crisp leaves crunch. There's a home with many windows in the old stone wall. Cool pools to dive in, sun-warmed sand to lie in, singing at twilight when the day is done. Bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Oh, and look, his friends are here. There's squirrel and frog and turtle. Oh, I'm sorry, that's chipmunk. Squirrel is up here. There's spider. And there's owl. And down here is cricket. They're all there. On the way home, Daniel stops to watch the sunset sky reflecting in the pond. That looks like poetry to me, says Daniel. To me too, says Dragonfly. What is poetry? If you look and listen, it is all around you. The end. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.